Gita Ganga cha Gayatri Govindeti Hridisthite Chaturgagara Samyukte Punarjanmana Vidyate. The meaning of this particular verse was explained in the previous episode. Nevertheless, we have just seen the importance of Gayatri and the presence of Gayatri mantra in Srimad Ramayana. Well, the other three Gas, which is Gita, Ganga and Govind, all the three and their importance appear in Srimad Ramayana. Ganga, the Utpatti of Ganga, how Ganga and what is the origin of Ganga is also being detailed in Balakand of Ramayana. Govinda, one who is the protector of the cows, Gavam Indraha. Krishna was called Govind. Nevertheless, Ram was also called Govind, because Govind in Sanskrit also means one who's eloquent, one who's a good speaker. Ram was an eloquent speaker. He was a sweet speaker. His words were sweet, filled with meaning, and he would always speak at the appropriate time. So he is Govind. Well, along with this, we also need to understand the importance of Gita. Gita, though it was narrated or recited by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra in Mahabharata, the life of Gita was led by Sumitra, who is the mother to Lakshman and Shatrughna. Thereby, the importance of Gita, the importance of Gayatri Mantra, the importance of Govinda Nam, and the importance of all the above Ganges has been mentioned in Srimad Ramayana. Vishwamitra, along with Ram and Lakshman, was walking by this great ashram called as Siddhashram. That time, Ram asked, "Hey Rishi, hey Vishwamitra, please tell me the importance of this particular hermitage called as Siddhashram." That time, Vishwamitra said, "Hey Ram, listen to this. It is believed that once Parvati Devi wanted to marry Lord Shiv, so she undertook penance. The fruit of that penance was benefited by Parvati when Lord Shiv said, 'Hey Parvatavardhini, hey the daughter of Himalaya, I will come and marry you the right way, in the Vedic way.' They married. While they were married, it is believed that the Devas, who wanted to bring an end to the Asuras, wanted a son from Shiv, but Shiv was engaged in penance. To instill the feeling of love in him, they called Manmath, who was Ananga, the one who didn't have a body, and said, 'Hey Manmatha, please ensure that Lord Shiv gets the feeling of love in him.' Manmatha, along with his wife Rati Devi, danced before Lord Shiv, who was engaged in penance. When Lord Shiv did not open his eyes, Manmatha took his quiver of arrows, and the arrows were made of different kinds of flowers. It is only the smell of flowers which could probably intoxicate a person, was the feeling of Manmatha, and he shot an arrow at Lord Shiv. Lord Shiv, by receiving that arrow, was frustrated, agitated and angered, and he opened his third eye, and Manmatha was reduced to ashes. So he was left without a body. Without a body in Sanskrit means Ananga. Hence probably that Desham, that particular region, is called as Anga Desham, and Anga Desha was later ruled by Karna, the elder brother to Pandavas during the times of Mahabharata, and that Ang became Bang, and that Bang became Bengal, is the belief of great people who have studied history. Well, that particular place where Manmatha was burnt to ashes was called as Siddhashram, because the great Siddhi person was Lord Shiv, and he reduced Manmatha to ashes, and any act of the Lord's is always believed to bestow and bless the devotees with auspiciousness. Hence, that particular ashram or hermitage was called as Siddhashram. It is only in this Siddhashram that Aditi and Kashyap had the Lord as their son. The Lord was born as the younger brother to Indra, and hence he was called Upendra. He was too short, he was dwarf in nature, and hence he was called Vaman. This Vaman Murti, called as Upendra, the son of Aditi Devi and Kashyap, also lived in Siddhashram. Well, These are stories, don't believe I'm telling you. These were the stories that were narrated by the great Kushika Sutta, who's Vishwamitra, to Ram. Kushika Sutta Katitha Vividha Nava Vividha Katha is the beautiful line in Sanskrit by the poet par excellence Vedanta Deshika, who says, Ram, who listened to these great stories filled with moral values in a new way by this great sage Vishwamitra that day. What does this tell us? Through these lines, or through this incident of the narration of stories by Vishwamitra to Ram, what does the poet Valmiki wish to convey to us? He says that it is the young age at that point of time where your brain is actually fresh. It is at that point of time when you can actually grasp things better. So as parents, I would request all you parents who are watching to kindly enrich your children with good stories, with moral stories in their childhood, because if that particular age or stage is lost, it can never be got back. So it is at that particular stage wherein stories with their description and moral values reach children. When you have to narrate a story, you don't have to tell the moral of the story at the end. If the story was good, if you have done the narration, which is the most important part of a storytelling, in the best way, the child will himself or herself be able to tell you what the moral is. So reciting stories is the duty of every parent. Now, considering this modern age wherein the mother and the father, both of them work, where is the time to recite? Where is the time to narrate? Where is, after all the time with the household responsibilities to actually manage household responsibilities and narrating stories to children? Then I would request the grandparents to do it, because if this stage is lost, it is lost forever. Well, Ram never had that particular opportunity where he lost this particular stage. Even if Dasharath and Kaushalya had not narrated stories, Vishwamitra thought that as a good rishi, as a good guru, it is my responsibility to narrate, and he narrated the great story of how Manmatha was burnt to ashes by Lord Shiv. He also narrated how Aditi and Kashyap were blessed with the incarnation of the Lord called as Vaman or Upendra, and hence he told the importance of this particular ashram called as Siddhashram, and along the path of Siddhashram they walked further into the forest. Well, it was the time when Vishwamitra wanted to accomplish why he had brought Ram and Lakshman to the forest. Now he said, "Hey Ram, I need to tell you the history of a certain woman," and he started telling. It seems that there was a demon called as Suketu. He had a daughter, the ogress, who was very powerful since her birth, and her name was Tataka. Likewise, there lived another demon called as Jambh, and Jambh had a son called as Sunda. Sunda was very much like his father, an uncivilized, barbaric, very cruel person who would torture people. Birds of the same feather flocked together. Sunda, who was the son of Jambha, and Tataka, who was the daughter to Suketu, both of them resembled in many ways. They were both uncivilized. They were both people with a barbaric nature. They were people who wanted to torture the rishis. They wanted to always see people suffer. So these people married, and imagine how their sons would be. They had two children. One was Subahu, the other one was Marich. Like father, like son. Like mother, like son. Like parents, like children. So these two kids of Sunda and Tataka, namely Subahu and Marich, were totally barbaric and uncivilized, and they would always be an obstacle to the sacrifices or havans that were performed by the rishis in the forest. Tataka's husband Sunda, once they went and attacked the hermitage of Agastya, who was a great rishi. Agastya was always a very calm and a composed person, but he said, "Hey Tataka, if this is the case with you, then I shall curse that your husband should die in a war," and Sunda was dead. "And Tataka, you and your son will be the most feared ogresses in this particular forest, and you will be brought to death by a great Kshatriya with the advice of a great Brahman, and this was the curse that was ensued on them, and he left the place. Tataka and her children, who were roaming in the forest, would always trouble the rishis. And while they troubled Vishwamitra is when Vishwamitra thought, I should seek the refuge of this great Dasharath and his son Ram. And he went to Dasharath, sought the help, and brought Ram and Lakshman to the forest. With this history in mind, Ram was standing next to Lakshman and Vishwamitra in the forest when Tataka approached them. Let's see how she approached and how she met her end in the next episode. Thank you.